What's going on, irregulars? Welcome back on another Thursday. It is your boy Bobby.
And Katie, welcome back, guys.
Welcome, welcome. Week break.
Yeah,
Felt good.
it did, but I missed the listeners. Did you guys miss us?
They missed us.
Okay,
They
good.
definitely missed
I
us.
needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back. It is May. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and if you follow us on Instagram, which you should by now, you will have seen us promoting the shit out of the episode that we are finally so excited to share with you guys. So, Bobby, take it away.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. It's something that it aligns perfectly with what we're doing here. And for this podcast, we're gonna be speaking to Jake Luhrs and Joel Chandler about the Your Life Gym, basically, which is the first mental and physical health gym that's in existence to what we know of.
Hmm.
It's going to be really, really interesting. We had such an awesome conversation. Jake and Joel spoke to very, very interesting points that I didn't even think of. And I've been going to the gym,
Yeah.
so it's going to be really fun. You guys are definitely going to enjoy the rest of this episode. There's no way you don't.
It's super, super inspiring. Jake talks a little bit about his nonprofit foundation called Heart Support and how he kind of integrates that into his model at the gym, as well as Joel Chandler's approach on fitness and how he kind of directs things over there. So, without further ado, we're excited and we hope you like it. Here it is.
And we're here with Joel Chandler, the fitness director at the Your Life Gym, and Jake Luhrs, lead vocalist for August Burns Red, founder of the Your Life Gym and Heart Support. How you guys doing?
Great, man. Thanks.
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, this has been a long time coming. I know I came to the open house before, and it's been a lot of just relationship building and everything. And now that we're here, I can't thank you guys enough for your time. So we do want to just get right into it. Tell us about yourselves. We'll start with you, Joel. Who are you? How old are you? What do you like to do? Just give us a little background of who you are.
Sure. 34 years old, been training for the last 10 years. Before that, was a cultural anthropologist, spent some time in India doing some field work. Decided I didn't want to write for grants for a living, so I changed gears. And flash forward, here I am.
That's quick and easy. I like it. I like
Well,
it.
anthropologist. Wow, that's impressive. I took one anthro class in college. Wild.
Yeah, I took 3. I didn't mean to. I just couldn't get into the other classes that I needed. It definitely wasn't my thing. So I commend you, sir. I commend
How
you.
about you, Jake?
Yeah. So I guess I've been on tour for the last 15 years of my life. I'm in a metal band called August Burns Red from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I was pretty much basically born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. And then in 2006, I moved up to Pennsylvania to join the band. And the band's toured over 45 different countries. We just released our 9th album and did really well with that. And then COVID kind of hit, so I too changed some gears. And now Joel and I are here running the Your Life Gym. So it's cool.
That's awesome. So how did this gym come about? What was the stepping stones of you pivoting from being a renowned artist to now I'm working out for a living, essentially, you know what I mean, and running the show?
Yeah, going from a band dude to the gym guy is definitely like what's going on here? But essentially what happened was COVID, hit, a year ago, and I was home. At that point, I hadn't been home for more than 3 months the past 15 years of my life. So after 3 months of being home, I was like, what am I supposed to be doing here? What am I going to do with my life? How do I domesticate myself?
Yeah.
And I was going to the gym a lot. I have been exercise was a big part of my life for the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now. And it's been very therapeutic for me. So I would be going to the gym down the street from my house. And then because of COVID, maybe 3 or 4 months later, he had to close down, the gym owner. And that's when the vision of the Your Life Gym came back to me. I'm 36 now. I was 24 when I had the vision of this mental health gym.
Wow.
And I really felt like this was going to be the time to do it if I was going to do it. And so I really just, I was a little bit nervous, but I really felt like it was a desire of my heart that I really wanted to fulfill. And so I kind of listed out some of the things that I need to figure out, made some phone calls to some friends, and then it completely unraveled itself in the sense of everything and anything that I needed, it was just coming to me.
Mhm.
And so at that point, I really couldn't deny to continue the pursuit of it, because I literally would have been turning my cheek on my dream as it was physically showing itself to me. So, yeah, and that's kind of where Joel kind of came in, to kind of give a little more of a backstory. So when I was trying to build this gym, I needed to find obviously a space. I needed to find equipment, and I needed to find a trainer, because I'm a front man. I'm a musician. I'm not a fitness trainer. So
Yeah, I would say they're polar opposites.
correct.
Pretty
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to train you. I can scream at you. That's pretty much. I don't know if you would like that, if that's going to help. But so I ended up getting this building from a really kind of almost eerie situation. I reached out to my Andrew, my realtor, right? And I was like, hey, I need to find a building to open a gym in. He said, give me a couple days and I'll look at some places for you. So 2 days go by, and I get a package from my friend Brett, who was like my hockey captain, like a year prior to that. And I hadn't seen Brett or talked to Brett in a really long time, but he sent me this nice package. It had like crackers, popcorn, stuff like that. And he just said, hey man, I hope you're doing okay during all of this in COVID. And so I thought to myself, okay, I gotta, hit up Brett about this. And then I went on a walk with my dog, and my realtor calls me and says, hey, I found this location. I really think you're gonna like it, but it's attached to a church, and I don't know how you feel about that. And my faith is really, really, really important to me, but I've never been like a churchgoer, and I've had kind of a rough past with organized religion. So I kind of chuckled at the idea, and then I felt like a voice was just like, hey man, like don't judge this church. Like it's literally full of people just like you. Go home, and why don't you do your research before you start pointing the finger at everybody? So I went home, and I went on Instagram. I found them on Instagram. I'm kind of just like flipping through their photos, and I stop, and I'm like looking at this picture, and it's literally my friend Brett, who had just given me the gift. It's him playing guitar for their worship team. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird,
That's wild.
right? So I was like, maybe I should go check this space out. And I went to Brett, and I said, look, I need to talk to your lead pastor of your church, because I need to make sure that he's fully on board with what I'm trying to do, because if not, then like this is not going to work, because environment is everything when you're building community. And so I reached out to his lead pastor, and I said, look, I'm building a community that's going to be very like raw and real and genuine, and it doesn't matter the color of their skin, it doesn't matter what they believe in, it doesn't matter who they're in love with, it doesn't matter, what they've done or what's been done to them. Like I'm going to love these people, and like I'm going to encourage these people. And if you're not okay with that, then like I can't, sublease this space from you. He was like, dude, that's so cool. We love it. Like
I just got goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like that's so motivating, because I think there's a big struggle with people nowadays. They're like you said, quick to point the finger at someone and this, and it's like, guys, we're humans. You know what I
Especially in
mean?
terms of religion, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it was really cool for that to kind of pan out. And then and I'm trying to make this story, because it's a long story. I'm trying to make it really short here. But
Hey,
like,
take your time.
So I was talking to my buddy Rob Bailey. His wife is Dana Bailey. She was Miss Olympia 2013. And she's just a powerhouse, dude, of like everything. Like not only is she like just a powerhouse physically, but spiritually, she's so high energy and happy and outgoing. And they had this gym, her and Rob had this gym called the Warhouse, like 45 minutes from here.
Yeah, I have a couple friends who used to work out there.
Yeah. Awesome space, great energy. And I called Rob, and I said, look, I want to do this gym thing. He's like, well, you're going to need to get equipment, and then you're going to need to get like solid staff, So I'm like, oh my gosh, like how much is equipment going to cost me? And I'm looking up these videos on YouTube on like 10 reasons why gyms fail, and just the average cost of a gym. And what's really crazy was my roommate, who lived in my basement at the time, his name's Kevin, he designed the Y logo. I told him about this. I'm like, I'm gonna open a gym. He's like, what?
You're freaking crazy.
What are you talking about, dude?
Especially during COVID.
Yeah, he's
right?
like,
COVID's
there's
got this
COVID.
guy.
Like, put your mask on, bro. I'm like, no, I'm gonna open a gym, you know. And so he's like, well, you know what's crazy is that the founder and president of Arsenal Strength, which is like this top tier equipment company, he's like, the president knows you, like, and I'm like, what? What do you mean he knows me? He's like, yeah, he went on tour with you in like 2008. So he's like, yeah, his name's Andrew Hall. So I'm like, oh yeah, he was the drummer for like this this really cool, fun metal band called The Showdown. And we did tour together, early, like 2007, something like that. And so I reached out to him, and he had been following me and like what I've been doing with heart support and ABR for years, right? And so fast forward 15 years later, after we go on tour together, I'm giving him a call, and I'm like, hey man, I want to start the first mental health gym. I want to help people. I want to encourage them to like pursue their mental health and their physical fitness, and like literally try to do the best I can to show people that there's more to them than what society's telling them, what they're telling themselves, you know? And he's like, dude, I love it. He's like, this is such a great idea. I'm going to help you however I can. And I was like, that's awesome. I was like, will you be on my advisory board, you know?
Right.
I'm like, hey, can you be in my corner? And he's like, absolutely. So then 4 or 5 days later, he calls me back and he's like, hey, I just, I talked to my business partners and we really love the concept and what you're doing. And so whatever equipment that you want, like, we're just going to donate it to you. And they ended up donating like $90,000 of equipment for me to do this.
It's insane.
Wow.
It's such a big step for what a great PR for a business. I mean, that is killer. And then to just give up a lot of that stuff because of essentially why we're even here too, because they believe in what you guys are doing here, and that's huge.
So can I ask, what was that phone call like when you learned that you were getting almost 100 grand worth of equipment for free?
I mean, there was no conversation. It was just tears the whole time.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
there's no way that you can, because I mean, no one's ever done that to me for anything ever in my life, you know? Yeah. And so it was just really cool to see his faith in me go that far and that deep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, it's like we have to, whenever we're pursuing things and like things that aren't tangible, but we believe in them, we have to also see other things around us that are contributing and affirming to us that what we are doing is good and right and, the way.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say it was probably very reassuring and a good affirmation for you. Like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is where I should be.
Yeah. So one of the more weird stories that kind of like creeped me out a little bit, but was cool for me anyways. And it has to do a little bit with my faith. And, I can't not share my faith because it's part of my story, right?
Yeah, no.
So like, I remember, as this is all happening, right? I had a long day and I was just really exhausted. And there's this, I'm a hockey fan. I play hockey. And there's this hockey game called NHL 20. And I had it on my TV and I was about to play it. And then a neighbor was like, it's really gorgeous outside the sunset and you should go check that out. So I went outside on my back porch and I'm looking at the sunset, and my backyard is really, really, it's almost like a full acre, but it's butted up against farmland that go till the eye can see. Right?
Yeah.
And like there's mountains, there's like Mount Gretna, and it's really, really beautiful. And when I bought that house, the reason why I bought it was because of that backyard, because my Nana and Pop, I didn't have like the best upbringing and it was really kind of rough, but my Nana and Pop, they had a house in the mountains of Virginia. And when I was going there, I always knew that it was safe as a kid, and that it was going to be peaceful and safe and secure. And so when I was looking to buy my house, that yard reminded me of them and that place in my life. And I've always wanted like just a peaceful home. So I felt, I had this voice and vision, like when I was buying the house, the backyard is God saying, hey, you can have this backyard and you can manage that. But everything else, you can have it too. And you don't have to take care of all of this. It's just for you to have. And you're going to get what you want and more. And so I was kind of reminded of that story when my neighbor said, hey, go check out this beautiful sunset. And and I was like, he's basically saying, do this, and more is even going to come from it. And I'm like, wow. And I turn and I look at my TV, and the NHL, starting screen says, start your legacy.
And you're just like, that's it.
And I was
Yeah.
like, let's go.
That's
It's like,
pumped up.
all right. So now these things are starting to happen. Like, I'm getting all these signs. I'm feeling this way. I've got the building. I've got the arsenal equipment. And then I'm starting to get a little ballsy now, because I'm starting to think like, oh, cool. Then like I'm just gonna start asking for all of these things.
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
everything starts snowballing. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm the man. Let's
yeah,
go.
I'm like, dude, this is real. Like, I'm like, what
Yeah.
the heck? This is insane. So then I'm thinking, well, I need a trainer, man. I need like a top tier, top notch trainer. And my apparel company was just kind of getting into like doing some personal training stuff, and we had looked into hiring Joel to be one of the personal trainers, right?
And that was actually gonna be one of my questions. So how did you find Joel? Because Joel, if I'm not mistaken, you're South Carolina at this time.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. So you're in South Carolina, and all of a sudden you get a call from freaking Jake from August Burns Red. What was that feeling like, dude?
What you called me for? What's this about?
Yeah.
There's a piece of the story that feeds into that. I had volunteered for Heart Support like 6 years prior to all this, and had made some connections. Ben Sledge was one of those connections, and he hit me up like the year prior asking for some nutrition coaching and just some general advice on his fitness. And so in exchange for helping him, he was helping me build my own Spirit Forum fitness website, because I was trying to brand and get things going in South Carolina for myself. And I guess I got name dropped. He asked me one day, hey, Steven's looking for another trainer. Are you interested in maybe helping them out, maybe do some consulting or something? I'm not really sure. But yeah, put us on the phone. Let's talk about it. And then just kind of came together from there.
Yeah, and just for context, like Steven was a partner of mine at More Weight at the time.
Okay.
And so Steven met up with Joel and did an interview with him. And then I said, well, before we hire Joel, we need to do an interview as like partners, right?
Yeah.
And so we did. And Joel was like spot on. Like, he cares about people. He cares about mental health. He knows what he's talking about with personal training. And so then fast forward literally like 2-3 weeks later.
Was it long?
Yeah, all this stuff was happening to me with the vision and mission of your life. And I was like, I need a personal trainer. And his face just pops up in my brain. And I'm like, got to get on the phone with this guy. So I called Joel, and we were FaceTiming. And I said, hey, man, I don't know what your living situation's like in Charleston. I don't even know if you're married and have kids.
I don't know anything about you
Yeah.
except I need you.
Yeah. Basically, I'm like, hey, I want you to like quit everything you're doing in South Carolina, and move up here to Pennsylvania and build this gym with me. And I said, hey, look, you don't have to tell me right now. Take some time, but also like, hurry it up.
But like not too much time.
Yeah,
Like tomorrow.
Because like this is all happening fast, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I need an answer yesterday. So
So Joel, what was that when you got asked that question? Like, what was your head doing at that time?
do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was sitting in my apartment in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and we got off this call after 45 minutes. We hung up, and I was just like, this guy's got some nerve. It's like, wow, you do not just expect me to like leave all of this. But I knew about Jake's character. I mean, Heart Support and the things he's been doing for people for a long, long time. Like, you don't flinch at something like that when somebody comes at you with a heart like his. And when you're building something like that, and your emphasis is people and building community and making people stronger with support systems, that's what it's all about. And that's what fitness is supposed to be about. It's about making better people. If we're talking about on the individual level, client, trainer, there's a relationship there where the trainer is trying to lead this person into a new version of themselves. Doesn't matter what the objectives are fitness-wise. It matters where the person winds up at the end of that journey, however many sessions they're there for, right? There's supposed to be some personal growth. And I was like, this is really cool what he wants to do. I need to check this out. And like in my personal life, there are a lot of pieces. Like various chapters that I kind of described in my own journaling as lighting up like a constellation. Like there was an opportunity for me to use the anthropology stuff. There was an opportunity for me to use stories from my own mental health journey and all the fitness stuff that I've been doing. Here was an opportunity to play every single card at one time. I was just like, okay, well, if there was ever a call from the sky, hey, here's something I would like for you to do, this is probably it. Yeah. And so, I said, well, man, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And it wasn't long. And I was flying up here to check the place out, had a heart-to-heart with him. And then when I went back to Charleston, what was it, like a couple of days or something? And I was
he
like,
went home on Sunday. I think he told me Tuesday.
yeah. I was like, all right, dude, let's do it.
I love that.
Yeah, and then he was living in my basement until like about 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. Like,
From strangers to partners to roommates.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
like
So-
we just did it, man. We just did it.
So what was that like? Joel, your setup, your foundation is in South Carolina. You're doing your thing. Life is rocking and rolling. I'm assuming, right? I mean, maybe you were in some dark times or whatnot. I can't speak to that, but life is going, and then almost in a blink of an eye, you're living in Jake's basement and running a gym with him. Like, did you ever just lay down in your bed in the basement and just go, how the hell did I get here? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and, and like this happened so fast. So like, talk us through that.
It did happen very fast. I think it happened so quickly. Like as soon as I got up here, I mean, I think we were already working on stuff before I moved. There was a little bit of figuring out the layout, square footage of the area out here, how the machines were gonna fit. We were trying to piece that together. I don't know. There are moments like what you mentioned where I just have a second to stop in the silence and think, this happened. But it's all been going so fast, you don't get a lot of opportunities to sit down with the silence and recognize what you have done. And there are moments like that you have to stop for a second and really take some inventory and like accept that this is the reality, and you have to express gratitude for it. Otherwise, I think you can just keep grinding and grinding and grinding and forget what you're doing it for. If that makes some sense.
That makes so much sense. I feel like we just did this for ourselves for this show.
Yeah.
Yesterday, actually, ironically, we sat down and we're like, wow, like what a cool place we're at right now. That's awesome. I love that. So we talked a little bit about your life and how it all came to be. There's a mental health aspect to it. Can you talk us through that? Like, what does that look like here?
Yeah. Do you want to start with it and I can end with it?
If you want me to talk about the fitness philosophy and how it ties in,
Yeah.
like, kind of
Yeah,
brings
start
everything
with that,
together.
yeah.
So sort of what I was mentioning about in describing the client-trainer relationship, there's a personal growth thing that is supposed to happen, right? If you take a step back, like just look at the stuff that's on the walls in here in the war room, there are reasons why I chose the words that are there. And if we kind of go 30,000 feet into the air and look at human beings as what we are, this is the anthropology stuff, we see that what people fashion with their hands is a direct consequence of what they believe in their hearts and minds. So when you're training someone and they don't believe that they can do something, or they have reasons from their previous experiences that, just like any other chapter of your life, anything else that people work through, you tend to believe things that have happened to you, and you see yourself in a certain light. And so in the context of training, what you have to do is get people to understand that maybe the version of yourself that you thought was you is something you're gonna have to leave behind a little bit. Because if I challenge you with something you don't think you can do, and suddenly you find out you can do it, what is that gonna do to your sense of self if suddenly something that was a barrier before is not a problem for you?
And I think that's huge
Ooh,
because I
I'm
know
getting them. Ooh.
she gets a little emotional sometimes. So do I. But I think I have trained with you, and one, I will say, if you want your ass kicked, this dude will do it for you. I mean, this dude will 100% do it for you. We did Joel, Jake, and myself, and a couple other people did a training session together, and my back was sore for probably 5 days straight, which never happens.
I can confirm he complained a lot.
Yeah, I was. Oh my God, you whooped my butt. But I can tell you, I've done personal training. I've wrestled for 20 years. You know what I mean? I know what it takes to be an athlete and push yourself to levels that you don't, know that you can do and whatnot. But I will say that after leaving these personal training sessions, there was this sense of like accomplishment and you're like, I kicked ass today. I didn't go into it thinking that. I was like, I'm going to go get my ass kicked today, but it wound up being like, man, I crushed it. And I think that really helps with the relationship that you speak to, that, you are very good at identifying a person, identifying the type of person they are, and adjusting your person to that. And that's special. And Jake, I mean, you're a lucky man. I mean, like, this dude he kills it. We had Erica with us, who was totally different, also a beast too, to
Yeah.
speak to. And, you were able to adjust everything that we were doing on the fly. And that's huge, man. I think that's super important and powerful.
Yeah, and I'll kind of keep running with the barrier, concept, like, because the mental health is the same. Like, when you have a place that has a community that's really accepting and encouraging, and you can feel safe, and you don't have to be intimidated, right? And then you come in here and you start to break mental barriers and physical barriers. I mean, it really shoots you through the roof. It completely can change the perspective that you have on yourself and on your life, and like change the path that you're going. I mean, literally, there was just one example. So there's a really great guy named Anthony that Joel trains, and when he first came to the Your Life gym, he was like very timid, very insecure, anxious, and felt intimidated by coming in. Right? He hadn't even like really met us or talked to us, and then, a month goes by, and he's training with Joel, and he's really loving the community. He's talking to us all the time about things that are going on in his life. And then he pulled me aside literally like a week ago. And he was like, hey, I just want you to know, man, like, this gym has truly given me a place to make a real change in my life. And all these things are really like looking up for me, and my body feels great, and my mind is really well. And like, I was with my girlfriend for 12 years, and I just couldn't commit to her fully because of all these things that were kind of holding me back. But now, like last weekend, I actually proposed to her, and like life is really changing for me,
Yeah.
And
So what I'm hearing is a membership here, ladies, will get you a ring from your man.
That's what I.
uh-oh. But like, just hearing that, right, alone, and has been so cool. And just knowing that, just being able to make a place that's comfortable for people to really engage both the physical and the mental state, and pursue like who they want to be, right, and who they truly are, instead of being conditioned by society or through past experiences, but finding a place where you can talk about your past and then be able to find healing or release or forgiveness, is just, it's just amazing. And it's like, it's weird because it's like, it's a gym, but it's really not. Like,
It really is a community here. I would say the atmosphere that you two have built is very interesting, and I actually want to thank you to Jake specifically, because I remember when we were here doing the personal training session, and it was fun. We were having a good time. We're all vibing, and Erica showed up a little bit late. And this is where like the turning point in that training session where it actually pushed me through, because I was like, it was just very cool of you. I don't even know if you remember you did this. Erica shows up. Hi, I'm Jake. Blah, blah. She's a big fan of you. She fangirled for a little second there. And then you go, are you also from the Philadelphia area too? And she's like, yeah. And you're like, okay, give me one thing you like about it and one thing you don't like about it. And I remember just turning and looking. I overheard it in between Joel whooping my butt. I remember looking, I'm like, that is such a powerful question, or such a powerful way of approaching someone, because you have some status to you. You know what I mean? You're a frontman of one of the biggest metalcore bands on the planet. And you're not sitting here just like, hey, thanks for coming to my gym, and then walking by. It's like, no, I want to know who you are as a person. And I saw that, or I overheard that, and I was like, let's go. And then you kind of look around, and every single person at this gym, he makes a point to go and say hi to. Joel is training people in between. Like, this atmosphere is unlike any other gym that I've ever been into. And I've been into a lot of gyms throughout my wrestling career and stuff like that. So I just want to commend you both for that. It's people don't understand. You need to show up. You need to do a training session. Even if you don't do a training session, just show up, work out here for one session. You will realize that people here just treat everybody so differently, but in the best possible way.
Yeah, I got to add a couple of things. I appreciate what you just said about me. Thank you. That's awesome that you were even paying attention to that. But yeah, I mean, I kind of just see myself as a guy. Like, I'm just a dude in a band, you know, like, but one of the cool stories, and then I kind of want to answer her question about the mental health side, because there's a lot of really cool things that actually make us a mental health gym. And maybe even arguably the first mental health gym. I haven't really seen or heard of it before. But anyways, so I made a post about one of our mental health classes happening yesterday. And a girl commented and said, you know, I would love to go to your gym, but I'm very anxious about gyms, and I don't want to be there alone, you know? And I just really struggle with that. Literally 5 minutes later, another gym member named Bree comments to her and says, hi, I don't know you, but I'm a member of the Your Life Gym, and I'll be your friend.
Oh, I love
Stop.
that.
I got chills. That's awesome.
And then another person said, hey, you know, I'm a member too. Like, we can work out together. I can show you how to work out. 4 people from our gym, commented to this girl. And the last comment she had was like, well, I guess I need to be a member of your gym, because like now I've just made 5 new friends and I haven't even met them. And this is what you're doing. And that's why I'm saying, like, this is not a normal gym. Like, that's not what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And I know I'm sorry I'm rambling a lot, and
This is your episode, bro.
You can-
let it rip. You two.
you can snip,
So
cut
can I
everything
ask,
out.
what was that like when you guys saw that? Like, this is your vision, like being affirmed right in front of your eyes. What was that like?
This is why we're doing what we're doing. This is it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that like in the morning or something like that? And you're like, let's go for the rest of the day. Like, I feel like there's like little things like that, you know, you're just like, I need to, you know, a little bit of motivation today. It's a Monday morning, something like that. And then you see that and you're like, oh, that's awesome. Let's go. I'm ready to crush the rest of the week.
Yeah, it was just like, it was literally just like midday. Like, I had made this post at 1, and then like at 3 o'clock. It was, I have her, I actually saved it because I was just like blown away by this. She got 4 people that commented, and then she responded, never felt so welcome to a gym before. Definitely becoming a member. Thank you. I'm in awe of the support and kindness. It's just simply amazing.
Love
You know what I
that.
mean?
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, that's just really, you know, I mean, that's what our community, and it's like, all we're doing is we're just, so this is the way I look at my purpose of my life. I've spent 36 years trying to figure out what's my purpose, you know? And my purpose is to enrich the soil of community, and that community's growth is my reward. And so that's what Joel and I are doing. Like, we're just enriching the soil of this community, and these people are growing, and we're just watching it, and that's our reward. That kind of stuff is our reward, saying like, hey, you're doing this right. This is correct. Job well done, you know?
I always say the purpose of life is to find your gift. The meaning of life is to give it away. And that's like perfect. That's it. That's it.
I
You
never
guys
heard you
nailed
say
it.
that, but I gotta write that. You're gonna have to write that down for me. I
It's
like that
written
a
all over
lot.
my bedroom. I love it. That's it. You guys nailed it.
Yeah. Joel, so I want to pivot here a little bit and get into heart support, because I think heart support plays a huge part of the Your Life Gym. You had mentioned that you had done some volunteering. What did that look like for heart support?
Sure. So back in the support wall is still there, right? Yeah. So my involvement was with a team that would respond to people on the support wall of the website when people were popping in, you know, anonymously showing up saying, hey, I'm trying to work through this. You just, you know, when you had time, you would show up and then just talk to them, send messages in response and keep some conversation going.
Yeah.
So can you guys tell us more about heart support? Like, what is it? When was it founded? Like, what was the inspiration behind all that good stuff?
So Heart Support, basically, the way that it came was when I joined August Burns Red, I kind of made a promise to myself and to God that I would go to the merch table after shows and I would just talk to fans, whoever showed up, until the last fan. And when we first started touring, it was like there was 5 people because we had no fans. We were just playing these little tiny like rooms.
I would have been there. Just
And
saying.
so, and so, that grew from like 5 people to 20 people to 30 people, from like 5 minutes to half an hour to an hour to 2 hours. And we were on tour with a band called A Day to Remember. And that tour, we were main support for them. And the tour had sold out. Every single night was sold out. That was the one and only tour I've ever been on where every single show sold out. And we were playing back-to-back Chicago at the House of Blues, and I'm in our hotel room, and it's probably like midnight, and I'm like, God, like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. Like, my mind is blown, right? And I'm like, man, like, what do I do to give back? Like, to thank you, and like, how can I give back to like my fans and stuff? I was hearing all these stories from my fans, after the shows, like, man, I've been sober from heroin for 6 months. Me and my buddies, like, we wake up in our sober living house and like we listen to Composure, and that keeps us sober. Or I was, sexually assaulted by a family member, and your song Redemption has like helped me like forgive and move past that and be healed and of these things. And like I'm hearing all this stuff and I'm just like, dude, what do I do with this? Because I'm talking to these fans and they're opening themselves up. They're giving me the authority to hear their story and then the authority to speak back. And then I leave. And then I get on a bus and I go to another state. And like they go home to the same situation that they had left to go to the show, right? Like nothing changes in their life. So I'm like praying and I'm asking like, what can I do, And then this vision of Heart Support comes up. Now the weird thing is when this vision hits me, it's like, it's just all this stuff just hits my brain. I'm just like writing everything out, writing all these pages. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it's like 4 a.m. I'm laying down in bed in the hotel room. I'm like, I'm so tired. Like I can't do this anymore. Like I don't want to think about this anymore, but it wouldn't stop. Right. So then at the very end, I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. And then I'm like, what do you want me to name this thing? And then I got the word your life, the words your life. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to call this thing your life, because that's what matters, your life. And that's what we want to focus on. So I wake up the next morning. I'm in Chicago still. I'm playing back to back. And my buddy, who's a web designer, his name is Brandon, hits me up and goes, hey man, you've got another show tonight, right? And I said, yeah. And I said, you're still a web designer? He's like, yeah. I'm like,
I might need you.
Can we grab lunch? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I meet him for lunch. I bring the papers with me that I had just written down. And I said, I slammed it on the table. I'm like, I need you to build this for me, like here's $1,500. Here's all this stuff. Like I need this to be built. So he's like, okay, I'll do that. So he starts building the website. It was yourlifeministries.com at the time. And then I made some like really cheap cards. And then I made, so that when I had conversation at the merch table with my fans that were meaningful, and I would be like, hey, here, go to this place and talk about this. You know what I mean? And I can talk to you again there, And so I tried to build a little team, and so that kind of grew into what you know now, Heart Support, which has got, I think we have 7 full-time employees. We have like thousands upon thousands of people that join the online community that we've built, where people talk and they share, like Joel was saying, like you can go there and you can talk about anything. It doesn't matter. Like I went through a nasty breakup, or I've got addiction issues, or self-harm or depression. And
I've been on the site. I actually joined. I would say I would think a little less than a year ago. I joined just to kind of poke around, see what it's like. I've never gotten a chance to post anything or comment back, but there's a lot of things where I'm like, man, I can help that person, but I'm not in a good headspace right now to sit down and type that out, but I really want to help. But
yeah,
there's somebody else out there that can, you know what I mean, which is huge. I think that public forum with mental health is such a big thing and a big part of this podcast, actually. And it aligns perfectly with what we're doing and what you have already done and are continuing to do.
Okay, so you've established heart support, and now you're at a place where you've established your life gym. How do those two things work together as one to kind of bring your vision to life for both?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, you know, when I was building the gym, I thought to myself, okay, there's the mental health aspect, there's the physical fitness aspect. We're merging these two worlds together. Um, and we had Joel, and that's Joel's thing, is the fitness, the training, and he mapped out the equipment, what kind of equipment we wanted. Everything that's in this room here, the training room, we call it the war room. That's all him. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to manage and handle this mental health side of the gym, and that's where heart support really shines. So what we ended up being able to do is, heart support is an online community. Everything is online, right? And this was actually my first real attempt of having a on the grounds like heart support community. So with that, we have like some of the books that we've written. I wrote a book called Mountains. It's basically like a lot of the trials and struggles that I dealt with as a growing up in my life, and how my faith and hope really helped me kind of find paths of healing and overcoming things. We have another book called Dwarf Planet, which is really, it's like a workbook, exercise book for people who struggle with depression. And then we have another book called Rewrite that deals with self-harm. And that book is also really good for families that may have someone who is self-harming, right? And how to kind of respond to that. So we have those books here as well. And then we have our heart support class, which is it happens on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. is the women's, at 7:15 is the men's. And they're led by volunteers at Heart Support that are backed by professionals on my board. I have a professional on my board and on my staff. And so what that looks like is basically the women and the men, they have like a weekly topic or a monthly topic that we bring up, like legacy or purpose or self-image or relationships. And these groups, they just share. They talk about their experiences with the topic, or certain situations. And sometimes the conversations veer off because maybe someone is really letting something out, like, man, I went through a gnarly divorce, and this is how it worked, and this is how it happened. And everyone else is kind of listening intently and saying, oh, well, I went through something similar like that. And then we can kind of even share of like, okay, well, what are some tools or resources for something like that, right? Because the class is not, this isn't a substitute for actual professional help. It's literally just a conversation with people, like-minded people, who want to build community and be encouraged about, hey, you're not alone with this type of thing. It's called life, right? And Heart Support's main agenda within the gym is to say, hey, in all reality, you live in your head. Like, you may have the car and the nice things and quote unquote success or whatever, but you live in your head. And we want to make sure that you're okay and that you're healthy and that you see things clearly, because there's a lot of people, and I try to simplify some things because it's very deep. Mental health is very deep. And it's like wearing the wrong glasses, like you can't really see. And if you can't really see with the glasses that you're wearing, then the decisions that you make based off of what you're thinking you're seeing is not maybe the right decision or the best decision, right? So it's like, if the more you talk about what you're dealing with mentally with other people that can show you different perspective, offer resources, tools, encouragement, or professional help, you can start to get your glasses, prescribed a little better. You can see a little better, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea I was capable of doing this. And so what Heart Support does is helps break those barriers here in the gym mentally, while Joel is in the war room breaking the barriers down for you physically. And Heart Support, the topics and the content that is built and created is certified by professionals. It's just the classroom, the team leader is not. We're not professionals. We're just having a conversation. But it is nice and it's reassuring for us to know that the conversation the content that we're discussing, it is legitimate, right? The other thing that's really sweet about this gym that makes it a mental health gym that's heart support driven is the actual mental health exercises. So we have a list of mental health exercises that can be offered for people that are doing personal training. So for example, Jennifer, she's 28 years old and she just went through a gnarly divorce. She comes to your life and she's like, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? So she meets me and Joel and we ask her the number one question, why, right? Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Why do you feel you need to lose 10
Because there's
pounds?
100 different reasons. I would love to lose 10 pounds right now because I don't like what I look like when I look in the mirror.
Right.
But there's some people who are like, I need to lose 10 pounds because I'm health reasons. Like my heart is giving out. And then there's other people who, there's how many different reasons have you heard, Joel? I mean,
Right.
geez, like
Yeah,
the list is never ending.
When someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I want to lose weight, I want to build muscle," that's fine. It's a reason, but it's not what's sitting at the middle of the onion, so to speak. You have to peel back a couple layers, ask them questions. They might not even know exactly what it is. Most people will not outright tell you what it is, and you have to help them discover it.
How do you go about that? How do you peel back the onion? Like what? But after your first question, which is why, how do you start peeling that onion?
You have to get them to envision what their life's going to be like when they're done training. So let's talk about this goal. What does your life look like once you get there? How are things different? What has changed? And do you have what you want? It's not a question that I always ask them to answer. A lot of times I'll leave it as a rhetorical sort of device so that they can just think about what impact it's going to have for them. Because we might think that, well, if I can just get this thing, then I'll be happy. But we know that human beings are not very good at determining what'll make us happy. Like we get the thing and just like, oh, cool. Well, all right, now let's get this next thing. Like we can't be content with what it is. And so what's important to understand is that we know ourselves first before we think that this thing of perceived value is going to add some quality or dimension to my life.
Do you think this was actually? It's funny you said that we had an episode. I think it was oddly enough, it was with my friend Scott. If I know you follow me on Instagram, Joel, that he suffered a tragic accident. He's still doing great and whatnot. But we had an episode called "Do You Know Yourself?" and we broke that down, and it's really a hard question to ask. Like, do you think you know yourself? Like, are you confident in like I thought I did, and then once we unpacked the episode, I was like, I have no clue. You know what I mean? So, like, do you think you know yourself? Are you that confident?
You're asking, do I know who I am?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I know who I am at this point.
Yeah.
I think so.
Some people
That's
don't.
impressive.
You want to ask me
That's
some
great.
question from your other episode? You might throw me off. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really weird the way that episode kind of played out, and I was just like, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'm this alpha guy, I'm macho, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm none of those things, and then by the end of it, I'm like, what the hell am I? You know what I mean?
Well, I
I'm
think
like-
understanding the question too is important. I think when you get asked that and you're not ready to hear it, you're like, yeah, I know who I am. But then you think about it, you're like, I don't know, which sounds like a lot of what you're doing in those strategies there.
And that's the interesting part about this whole idea of this self-concept, right? Because if you remove your self-concept from time and put it somewhere else, future, can you really know who you're going to be?
No, you don't. I
Maybe.
challenge. I don't know so speaking to my therapist one time, gotta love it.
We do
And-
this a lot. We unpack therapy.
Yeah, therapy's great. Plug therapy every episode. I was speaking to my therapist, and I was like, we talk about the timeline. I'm gonna be 30. Wife, kids. It's the most toxic way of thinking, but it's true. There is a biological timeline to do some of these things. And he goes, I can promise you right now that what you think you want right now, by the time by the time you turn 40, it's like, when you're 40 and you have everything that you want, you didn't even think about it. You didn't even think about it at 30. He's like, he goes, I have everything I want in my life. If you asked me at 25 years old, I would have told you that there's no way that that's what I want, or that thought didn't even come into my mind. So I'm like, that's where it's tough, and it's probably true.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to do is like kind of like like just the intro of like not what do you want, but more like what do you believe? I think is like the question we want. Like
Those are two different questions.
that's what we're trying
Yeah.
to figure out. Like, what do you believe about yourself? Like, what truths do you believe are true about you, right? And just like Joel was saying, like, you know, people come in here and they're like, oh, I can't lift that. It's like, okay, that's a truth. That's a belief that you believe is true,
Yeah.
right? But we're gonna show you that that's not true, and then it kind of starts to disarm all the other truths. Like, wait a second. Well, if I believe that about myself, what about this thing over here, right? And like that's why heart support's like, hey, let's have these conversations, because the way that those glasses you're wearing, which are telling you what your truth is, what you're believing about yourself, are wrong. Take those off, put these on, and see what really the possibilities are, or who you really might be, and what you really want to say is your truth. So I think that's kind of where we're going in all of this, because when we start to unveil like the lies that you believe are true, and you start to really see that there's way more to who you are as a person than what you've thought for maybe even your whole life or a very long time, and your spirit starts to show up, and you start to connect with, man, I really do like doing this, or I really am passionate about this, or you know what I mean? And that's what we want to unlock, because that right there is who you are. This is the only life you get to live. Let's have you truly live it, you know? Like that's the essence of this gym.
And that can be a lot too, like unlearning those things about you that you've thought for so long, like who you thought you were, and then you're learning that you're not, or maybe you're more something different that you've never even known. You're a stranger to yourself in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important that you have that support there for people as they're going through these transitions, because wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, but what a beautiful journey your life has
Absolutely.
become from this. Like, it's like, oh man, hold on a second. Like, I've been doing this all wrong, and like, life is important, and like, I am amazing, and like, I can do this, and like, I'm gonna like, screw it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for this, you know?
It's
Like,
almost like your commitment to the Your Life gym. You're like, this is it. I'm going after it. I don't care what anybody says, and I'm just gonna go after it.
yeah. And if you know, like if I had listened to all the people around me when I was like, I'm gonna open a gym, they're like, there's COVID, dude. Like they're closing gyms down. This is a horrible idea. I have a friend of mine who's on my advisory board. Every day I talk to him, he goes, this is an awful idea. He'd be like, as a businessman, I'm telling you, this is a horrible idea. Do not do this. You know what I mean? He said, but at the same time, this is the perfect time to open up something like this that you're doing. He's like, you're like a medic station. He's like, dude, he's like,
It's a good comparison. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, he's like, think of what's going to happen when people finally get to go outside. They have been bottled up, isolated, told that they can't live their life, right, for a long period of time. And we're like, us as people, I believe we were created to do two things. That's to give love and to receive it. And you know, you can't do either of those alone, right? So think of how people are going to have struggles from all of this because they can't build community. They're gonna want something like this, you know, a place where they can be themselves and, you know, find themselves again and get back on track and really start to, you know, grow and prosper. So anyways, again, I'm just running, but it's like, it's because this is so important to me. Like this vision and mission, it's like my life and my purpose is wrapped up in this gym. Everything that I've done for 36 years of my life is involved in this gym. You know, heart support. If I hadn't started 11 years ago, I wouldn't be able to start a mental health gym.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't be able to start ABR. I mean, I wouldn't be able to start this gym if I didn't have ABR, right? Like my gnarly divorce I went through, I wouldn't have found fitness as a source of therapy. I wouldn't have been attracted to exercise. Had I not started more weight, I wouldn't have met Joel. Like all of these things in my life, my whole life, you know, like when I was a kid getting beat up and bullied and my parents getting divorced and close member being heroin addict, all this stuff, those things, right, in the time was suffering and painful, right? But now it's like, dude, I get to use them for good. And I wouldn't have talked to kids at the merch table after shows. about where they were and their struggles had I not gone through my own. Because you can't help someone if you haven't experienced it. It's very challenging to be able to love someone in a position that you have never been to before. It's like, man, I'm in the desert. I'm so thirsty. I'm so tired. You're like, oh, you're thirsty and tired. I get that. But I've never been in a desert.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how you're feeling from trenching through a desert.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you? I do want to. I would like for you to speak to how you came about talking to these people at the merch table a little bit as well too. What drove you to do that? Like I know you mentioned before, you're like, wow, this is, you know, I want to make an impact. I want these people here. But what was that first thing that drove you? Like, you know what? I'm gonna hang out at the merch table and I'm gonna talk to these people because I'm touching them in so many different facets of life. You know what I mean? So what was that first vision like where you're like, you know what, I need to do this?
it's simple. It's very simple. I was, starting bands in Columbia, South Carolina. I had started this band called She Walks in Beauty, and sorry, no. I have to go back. It was before that. I was 16. I was still starting bands. It wasn't She Walks in Beauty, but I was starting a band, and I went to my first hardcore show, and I walk in, and it's a band called Strike Anywhere. It's a very political band. The singer's up on stage, and he's ripping on stage, and he's shaking his hair, and he's vocal, man. He's preaching his gospel, right? His political agenda and all this other stuff. And I was just like amazed by this guy. He gets off the stage and I'm like, dude, holy smokes, this was amazing. It was a really small venue in Columbia, South Carolina, called New Brooklyn Tavern. And I had a Sharpie, but I didn't have a piece of paper. So I roll my sleeve up and I'm like, dude, will you please sign my arm, man? And he signs my arm and gives me the Sharpie back. I'm looking down at the Sharpie. I grab it from his hand. I look back up. He has his arm out and he's like, now you sign my arm. And I had never been, no one had ever treated me this way.
Wow.
No one had said like, you're honoring me, I'm gonna honor you. We're the same. And that was the moment that I was like, I have to be a front man. I have to do this. I have to do this. Like if this is the type of thing that he's doing, every night he has the opportunity to show somebody that they matter, that they're equal, that they're just as important and powerful. Are you kidding me? Like, this is my job. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And it was the same thing. I'm gonna be a singer in a metal band. Oh, okay, dude, whatever. And I was just like, no, screw you, dude. I'm gonna do this, And that's what made me go. The first day I get on tour, I'm making a promise that I'm gonna talk to people at the merch table just like he did with me. And it's funny because he did an interview with my buddy Shane Todd from Silverstein. And
Great band.
yeah, and Shane had done an interview with me, and I told this story, right? So he tells the Strike Anywhere guy, and he's just like, huh, you said he's a faith guy? Yeah, we probably wouldn't be friends, but that's cool. Or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, fair enough, dude. You know what I mean? Like that's totally cool. But I just thought it was funny how it went full circle. But
I think that story is super important to how this gym and heart support and everything else has kind of come together, because we spoke about the physical side, we spoke about the mental health side, and I like to mention we're in the war room right now. If you guys didn't notice, there's probably weights clanking in the background and music and whatnot, but you have all these different rooms, and that it's almost kind of like they're different facets of your life. You know what I mean? Where it all came together, where you have the war room, which is, I'd say, like a lot of your music career. And it's like, okay, I'm getting after it. I'm just going and I'm getting after it. And then you have your personal struggles, which is, the other rooms where you hold the mental health classes. And then you have this business side, because not only are you front man in a band, you're, founder of a nonprofit, you're a founder of a gym now, you're founder of a clothing line, and then you have your business offices, and it's literally sectioned out literally around your life, and it's now called your life. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important to speak to. Joel, I would actually like you to speak to the war room, because this screams you. You know what I mean? This screams Joel, like everything. And everyone will see pictures and videos of this stuff. But can you speak to the war room and basically what your impact is on the war room?
Yeah, the war room is a place where, like we're trying to do with what the community here is about and what we're trying to do with mental health classes and group discussions and stuff. Fitness in here is the instrument we use to help people discover and then dismantle self-limiting beliefs. If I can get someone to overcome a physical task, it can change the way they see themselves. And perception is literally everything. That's why some of the things that are written on the walls involve perspective, like thinking about something a little bit differently. There's something written on the chalkboard behind me. I don't know if you can see it, but it
I've
says,
been trying to read it over your head. I don't know
what
if you've noticed.
so it's a quote from Viktor Frankl. He wrote that book, Man's Search for Meaning. Very good. You should have it on your shelf if you don't. And it says, what is to give light must endure burning.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Meaning, well, my interpretation of it is
Yeah.
that one does not simply give off light. There's something that needs to fuel it. And that usually is some sort of struggle. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I'm sure there are people with a lot of positive energy that are just positive because they are. But some people's lives burn brighter because of what they've endured. And they find a reason, they find a why. And that's kind of Viktor Frankl's whole thing. Like, the reason why anyone chooses to do anything is because they discover what their why is.
Do you write something new up there every day?
Not every day.
I was gonna say,
no.
that'd be
But
challenging.
it does change from time to time.
So can you speak to some of the other things that are,
Yeah.
permanently on the wall?
Sure. Become who you think you are is an invitation for you to tell me, who do you think you are, and is that what you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
That's so ironic because I actually, before we started this, I took a picture just of the scenery and I sent it to a friend. I'm like, we're here, we're getting ready. And they made a comment about that. And they're like, I don't know if I want to become who I think I am. And I was like, well, there's a chance to unpack that a little bit. That's so ironic that you bring that up. Wow.
So when people get to this headspace where they now have this concept of what that's about, the next task is for them to decide, what's the action step? Now what do I do? And that takes work. So now we're going to get your body involved and we're going to do a little bit of work. So let's get the brain going with your movement system, and then let's get your brain going in other dimensions of your life, relationship, career, school, whatever it is. And let's do some heavy lifting.
It's amazing how you're able to connect the two. Because Jake, when you first posted about that, this is what you wanted to do, I'm like, mental health gym and a physical health? Like, how does that work? And then I saw you brought Joel on. I started following Joel on Instagram and kind of seeing his posts and everything. I'm like, okay, this is starting to make a lot more sense. And then I came to the open house and I'm like, this makes total sense. And I get it. And I mean, you guys have grown so much since that open house. I mean, I can't even put into words how much this gym has done, almost a 180 from, because the war room was empty when I first showed up here. There was nothing in here. And now it's filled with equipment and people. I mean, the last time we came here, the gym was slammed, That being said, what is your end goal for the gym? If there is an end goal, or what is the just outside of your fingertips reach? There's the goals that you set that you can grab. You're like, if I just put in the work and the time and the effort and just grind it out, like you had mentioned before, Joel, just grind, I'm going to get those. But what are the ones that are just beyond that you're like, I'm going to need a special something, a special someone, or something to fall into place? What does that goal look like? Either one of you can answer that either.
I mean, there's a couple goals. Obviously, I think it'd be foolish for me to sit here and try to lead something and not have some goals in mind. But just a couple that I can share with you. I think my goal right now is consistency, because it's very important that, for me, it's very important that if I create something, that it is well, right? Like, that it is good and that it is like fine-tuned and it is the best. It's operating the best. It's moving. It's the vision for it. It's actually like reaching its goals,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want right now. I love what we're doing. That girl's comment on Instagram was proof to me, saying, yes, you're doing what you're trying to do. You're accomplishing your goal. But then, that's the goal. Is like I want to make sure that this place is really helping individual people with their lives. And then I think what we're gonna do is we're probably gonna do another one.
I was gonna say, can you bring one
Thank you.
closer to us? Because
Thank
it
you.
sounds amazing.
So like what blows my mind is like I've already had like 5 investors like kind of knock on my door and be like, I wanna like let's go. And I've respectfully and humbly like declined because like I said, I have to get this 100%
Not there yet.
what I want it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But it obviously has the ability to replicate itself. And then, you know, one of the goals that I have for Heart Support is to offer heart support to other gyms. Like, you don't have to be a Your Life gym to be a mental health gym. I see that as a disservice to the world for me to just hold heart support.
Yeah, close it
in
off to
your
everybody.
life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, that's foolish because everybody needs heart support. Everybody would love to have heart support. And I want everybody to have heart support, right? Like, I want that community for them. So understanding how basically all of the things that make Your Life a mental health gym and packaging that for other gyms. And we had a gym in Houston, Texas, like a CrossFit gym that was really excited. And, you know, we're kind of talking to them about, hey, we could do this as a heart support gym so that like down the road, when people come to a gym, they say, hey, are you a heart support gym? And they go, yes, we are. And they know exactly what they're getting.
I just
I
got
love
chills.
that.
I just got
Oh,
chills.
I love
That is
that.
so cool.
You know, but you can't, like, we can't do that right now. We need to just focus on loving the people. Like our motto is like, we're here to wash people's feet and build big people. And the idea of that is the individual person that comes in, we want to know how they're doing that day. And then when we say like wash their feet, it's like, how can we love on them today with whatever's going on in their life, right? How can we make it that much better? How can we is there advice that we can give them for what they're going through right now? Or is there something we can give them, physical, tangible, right? Or whatever it is. And then building big people is exactly what all that mental health aspect and the, you know, breaking barriers down. Like we're going to want to challenge you on who you are and where you're going and where do you want to be, right? And all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're doing. And if we get that down really, really nice and tight and everything's running right, then yeah, I'd love to open another one and several of them if
Hopefully one closer to me.
Yeah, near Philly.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the impact that you guys have made on the community and building that community and your clients and all that kind of stuff. What kind of impact has Your Life made on you guys personally since you guys have opened it?
I'll start. What has been built here has, to me, felt like a culmination of a lot of things in my life. I get to see a lot of things happening that I've dreamed of doing for a long, long time. And that's with every dimension of my life. And I am grateful to even have the opportunity to be part of something like this because of the beautiful things that are happening here. I wake up at 3:30, 3:45 on weekdays to come open the gym, and I don't flinch when it's time to wake up because I can't wait to be here because of what we're doing. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life.
That is very bold to say because I don't know anybody who likes to wake up that early in the morning and
No.
enjoys it.
I'm a bartender. I'm going to bed at that time. Oof.
yeah, it was funny when Joel and I were sitting down in my house. We were talking about the hours of the gym, you know. And I'm like, "What do you think? Like 7 a.m.?" He's like, "Oh no, dude, like 5." I'm like, "5? Like, what do you mean 5? 5 what?"
You're
like,
going to be there for that?
a.m. I'm like, "Cool, you got the morning shifts, bro." Like, I'm not.
Feel that.
Because I'm a touring musician. Like, I go to bed at 5. Like, it's hard for me to, you know what I mean?
Operate that early in the morning.
Now,
yeah.
granted, I don't really have that many excuses now because we haven't been on tour for a year. But he's like,
This
dude,
guy sounds like me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, it's the most like validating, most fulfilling thing. But I've never worked this hard in my life, ever. I've never worked this hard. I feel in my life.
How
for-
rewarding
for
does that
anything.
feel, though?
I mean, it feels great. It's like I'm exhausted every day, but I'm excited every day. Like I go to bed and I'm like, I can't wait to work tomorrow. And then my body's like, dude, but you need to shut up and go to sleep right now
Right.
because we're, like you've got all this stuff you want to do,
What we like to do, we're about to close out here, and what we like to do is give our guests some closing arguments, closing points. If there is one thing, Joel, that you would like our listeners to hear from you, that you think it could be one sentence, it could be a paragraph, it could be a monologue, whatever you want to do, that you want to drive home, that you think is the most important part about the aspect of your life and heart support. And I'll let you kick it off, Joel, and then Jake will close it out.
I would challenge people to consider why they choose to do the things that they do. I would challenge that they should try to get to know themselves first. Because if you know who you are and you know what you believe and your value set directs everything else, then you'll wind up where you need to be. And as far as fitness goes, don't get distracted with all of the thousands of voices on social media because the fitness industry is really, really noisy. It's very simple. Keep showing up for yourself, figure out what it is you want to do, and keep trying. Because if you have 300 days out of the year of trying versus 3 or 4 weeks of trying and getting frustrated and quitting, you're a lot further ahead than you were had you not been. But the thing that makes it stick is remembering why you're doing it and who you are.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
I think the last thing I want to leave the listeners is with this. Think of your life and what you're doing with it, and then answer this question. Are you truly living, or are you just existing?
Boom.
Mic drop. I mean, that's insane. That's
I have to
powerful.
ask myself that, like
Often?
No, it's like, it's something that I've like just had to think of for myself. Like, I don't want to just exist. I want to live. And like when I go to my deathbed, and I'm laying there, I want to look back at my life and be like, yeah, I gave it a go, man. Like, I did the things that I wanted to do. I tried. I faced my fears and I went headfirst in, and like I gave it, the just that it deserved.
You got me wanting to run through a brick wall now. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? That's pumped up.
Well, these walls are fake bricks, so don't do that.
You'll actually break something. Guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It is a pleasure, more
It's
than
been
a pleasure.
awesome. Thank you guys. I can't believe how many things have aligned that you guys have talked about, that we've talked about on the show, off the show. Wow, what a great experience. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the conversation. We had a blast. It was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
At this time, if you want, plug all your social media. You can do whatever you want. We want everyone to follow you guys personally, professionally, all that stuff, because we want to spread the word of your life and heart support. So
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple of them.
there you go.
So, for people that don't know about heart support, just go to heartsupport.com and like literally you're going to meet the online community that we have. Obviously for Instagram, Facebook, it's Heart Support. If you're interested in the classes, like actually you don't have to be here in person. We have Zoom links, and we have like a Patreon membership for $10 a month for the Heart Support classes exclusively. And that money goes to Heart Support. So look at it this way. You get to be part of a tight-knit group of classes that I attend on Tuesdays with gym members here for $10. And the $10 is going to go support the nonprofit itself. So that's basically just patreon.com/Jake Luhrs. And then theyourlifegym.com if you want to know more. We have a little mini documentary about the About Us. The Your Life Gym on Facebook and Instagram as well. And mine's Jake Luhrs ABR. But Joel, if you want to know more about the fitness end of things, he's always posting really awesome content on his social media. And he's just such a people person that like you ask him a question, he's going to give you a real answer.
Yeah.
You can find me at Spirit Form Joel on Instagram.
Spirit Form Joel.
Yes.
Got it.
Just like it sounds.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much again for taking the time today. We couldn't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
On that note, you guys know what to do. Feel free to follow the Irregular Instagram page at Irregular Podcast. Feel free to follow my personal page as well, too, at Yobob, EYOOO_BOB.
And follow me on Instagram, my personal account at Katie_ANI. It's KAITY_ANI. Thank you guys, and we will see you next Thursday.
Love you.
That was so good.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.